I'm William Kumwembe with Business Time on Times Television. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. And in the program today, RBM maintains inflation forecasts as headline inflation quickens to 9.3% in August. We have these and other stories, so stay tuned.
Now you can access the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times newspapers anytime, anywhere, by the click of a mouse or a swipe on your smartphone. With eTimes, right on your mobile gadget. Flip through the pages with a swipe or a click. Navigate through all pages and see clear pictures and designs. Access a database of previous papers of the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times. Easy. Subscribe now to eTimes. Go to www.times.mw/e-edition. Sign up and log in. Enter your password and enjoy the newspaper. It's about time.
Hello and welcome. And in our main story today, the Reserve Bank of Malawi has said there is no need to press the panic button on inflation, maintaining its forecast of an average single digit by the end of this year. Average inflation for 2018 and 2019 is projected at 9.3% and 9.6% respectively. RBM has maintained a 5% inflation forecast in the first quarter of 2021. Chimwemwe Mangazi has the detail in this report.
This came out during a press conference the central bank held in Lilongwe on Wednesday at the end of the third Monetary Policy Committee meeting chaired by the bank's governor, Daliso Kabambe. Kabambe told journalists that in the short term, inflation is expected to remain slightly elevated on account of seasonal factors, utility tariff shocks, pump fuel price pressures, and rising public sector financing requirements. He further indicated that the stance will be complemented by mop-up operations to maintain the liquidity conditions at required levels.
I think we say that the first MPC as well as the second Monetary Policy Committee meeting for this year, for this year we saw that the CPI, Consumer Price Index, which we use to calculate inflation, the basket had been changed. And we saw that it would elevate a little bit up inflation for 2018. But equally true, we saw that the prices of maize last year had really collapsed, and that there will be a correction of those prices this year following the kind of harvest we had the last agriculture season. But we also saw that in terms of global market prices, that they are going up. You recall that in 2017, at some point, global market prices were as low as $42 to a barrel, and that they have since risen to around $80 to a barrel. So we saw that, but equally too, we saw that the country, in terms of some investments in the energy sector, that they had brought in the diesel generators that will generate additional power for the country, and that the cost of running those would be slightly higher, and that the prices of electricity tariffs will be adjusted upwards. So we saw all those elements or risks or clouds at the beginning of this year. And as a result of those, we decided to maintain our policy rate when we met for the first MPC in March, but also when we met for the second MPC in July. I think what we had seen had all come to pass. And that the inflation level that we are seeing now, say of August, of 9.3%, is a result of the tight monetary policy that we adopted to implement during the first MPC as well as the second MPC. Because it's that tight monetary policy plus the stability in the exchange rate that has ensured that although we were sitting on these clouds or these risks, the risks did not mean that inflation would go very, very high up. It's still within single digit, and up until the end of this year, our belief, our projection is that the average inflation for 2018, would be 9.3%. Average inflation for 2019 would be 9.6%. And that we are still on track in terms of our medium-term objective of bringing down inflation to 5% by the first quarter of 2021. So the decision that the Monetary Policy Committee has made during this third MPC to maintain a tight monetary policy stance of 16% policy rate is aimed to ensure that we preempt any upcoming pressures on inflation between now and December, and that is arising from the global oil market price increases that can stimulate a further adjustment in pump price, electricity tariff adjustment, especially because of the new application-based framework that has been that is being considered, but also continued correction of prices that is going to go on to December and the early part of next year.
Average inflation for 2018 and 2019 is projected at 9.3% and 9.6% respectively. From Lilongwe, I am Chimama Mangazi.
Meanwhile, headline inflation quickened by 0.3 percentage points in August to 9.3% as escalating food prices continued to bite, the National Statistical Office has said. This was the second month inflation has surged after making a U-turn in July. We have the detail in this report read in our studios by Alec Ponje.
Malawi's headline inflation took a U-turn last month to surge by 0.4 percentage points after months of continued deceleration. Malawians have in recent months struggled with surging food prices and transport costs. In addition, energy prices have jumped following a 7% electricity price hike by the Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM. NSO said food inflation inched up from 9.5% in July to 10.1% in August. Non-food inflation was recorded at 8.7%. Dean of Social Sciences at the Catholic University, Gilbert Kachamba, recently warned that inflation would go up in the months to come as prices of basic commodities, including maize, start going up. He said the recent hike in fuel prices as well as electricity and water tariffs could equally quicken inflation further. Recently, Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor Dalitso Kabambe said threats to inflation going forward remain manageable. He said the central bank does not expect fuel prices to continue rising both on the local and international market.
Now you can access the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times newspapers anytime, anywhere, by the click of a mouse or a swipe on your smartphone. With eTimes, right on your mobile gadget. Flip through the pages with a swipe or a click. Navigate through all pages and see clear pictures and designs. Access a database of previous papers of the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times. Easy. Subscribe now to eTimes. Go to www.times.mw/e-edition. Sign up and log in. Enter your password and enjoy the newspaper. It's about time.
The African Forum and Network on Debt and Development has said African governments need political will and enabling policies to help reduce illicit financial flows. AfroDAD Executive Director Fanuel Bokos said this on the sidelines of a media training on the same. Our journalist Alec Ponje caught up with Bokos in this interview.
First of all, let me say that illicit financial flows are difficult to estimate because of the nature of the illicit financial flows. The basic definition is that there are funds transferred illegally or earned illegally or used illegally, mostly across borders to other parts of the world. They're difficult to estimate, but the last estimate in 2014 by the Global Financial Integrity indicated that Malawi was estimated to lose at least $178 million in illicit financial flows. In the context of Malawi, we need to understand that that is money that could be used for other things. Now, if you look at the actual magnitude of the figures compared to other countries on the continent, figures from Malawi look small, probably because of the scale of the economy in Malawi. But in terms of the impact of those lost resources on the development of the country, it is very huge. So I would rather not focus on the actual magnitude, but as a percentage of GDP and what that money could have actually achieved in this country.
What are the effects of illicit financial flows?
The effects of illicit financial flows is that they take away money that otherwise would have been used for different reasons in the country. They also encourage criminal activities because people have to move that money. In order for them to move that money in an illicit manner, they will have to either bribe people or not follow the laws of the country, and therefore it leads to acts of criminality. And the final thing for me is that we need to look at illicit financial flows as a lost opportunity, because when the government cannot raise enough money in the country, it will either increase taxes, and the people that are taxed are not the multinational corporations or big companies, but the individuals. But at the same time, we will be forced to go and borrow both on the international market and on the domestic market, and those loans come with high interest rates, and not only high interest rates, but it also come with the possibility of repaying from the same resources that we have made for the future. Loans per se are not bad. I always say that any country borrows in order to invest. So the first question we should ask is, why are we borrowing? And if we are borrowing to invest, where are you investing the money? And if you make a decision that this country needs to borrow for certain investments that we have agreed, then what are the payment terms? And thirdly, what are the things we are putting in place to ensure that we repay? What has happened with Malawi is that after the 2005 HIPIC process, where Malawi's loans, external loans, were almost wiped out, they came from about $2 billion to about 500 million. We have started increasing the loans again, and we are one of the fastest countries in terms of the growth of loans since that HIPIC program. In terms of our vulnerability for external loans, we are still moderately vulnerable, or in terms of the IMF and World Bank debt sustainability analysis, it says we are moderate. Moderate risk means that our loan indicators are within the baseline thresholds, but we are at the potential that if any shock was going to happen to the economy, then we would actually get in trouble. So for me, the question is, we need to slow down on borrowing, one. Two, we need to make sure that the loans that we get are being used for the right purposes, in the right investment places, and mostly in the productive areas of the country. The first thing that Malawi needs to do is to have a proper act. I hear that there is an act that is being revised. I don't know whether it's been passed into law. We need to revise the act. The current act was made at the time that Malawi thought we don't have natural resources, and maybe the emphasis was not much. So the first thing is to review the act. The second thing is actually to look at what are the necessary conditions we need to put in place. One of them is the contracting process, the negotiation process. Most of the companies that are interested in mining in Malawi are from other countries. They are multinational corporations, they are big corporations, they have the expertise and the bigger teams. What we need to do is to have capacity to negotiate contracts that will be beneficial to Malawi.
Remember, this is Business Time here on Times Television with me, William Kumwembe. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. We'll be right back.
Now you can access the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times newspapers anytime, anywhere, by the click of a mouse or a swipe on your smartphone. With eTimes, right on your mobile gadget. Flip through the pages with a swipe or a click. Navigate through all pages and see clear pictures and designs. Access a database of previous papers of the Daily Times, Malawi News, and the Sunday Times. Easy. Subscribe now to eTimes. Go to www.times.mw/e-edition. Sign up and log in. Enter your password and enjoy the newspaper. It's about time.
Welcome back. Emotions on Thursday dominated a consultative meeting on interest capping as organized by Parliament in Blantyre, as private sector players differed on the proposed bill, while others opposed the move, saying it would crash the economy. Others defended it, saying it would help protect the innocent borrowers from exploitation by commercial banks. Our journalist Daonga Sabola was there and first spoke to parliamentarian Alexander Kusamba Zonzi, who championed the move.
Indeed, I was meeting the gurus, the captains of the business, as well as the Bankers Association of Malawi, including the Indigenous Business Association of Malawi. Largely, I was presenting to them what Parliament has passed in form of a motion that now requires it to become a bill. So the motion was actually to cap our interest rates so that the interest rates are not as volatile as they are right now. That maybe our banks should not go beyond a certain percentage. And if they do, they should be seen as breaking the law. But then, ordinarily, I would have just taken this bill to Parliament and asked Parliament to deliberate it, even before the consultations. But what I wanted to do was to start consulting first, because this bill is a very technical bill, and it actually hinges upon the whole economy. Now, there are players, experts in this economy, like our colleagues in the bank, the Reserve Bank, the technocrats in government, Ministry of Finance, then there are players in the indigenous business Malawians, and then the private citizens too, and everybody else who is interested. That I hear from them, their experiences. How do they want this bill to be? Where do they want to inform it? What do they want removed? What do they want added? The rationale has been that the people who have sent me have observed that each time they read the newspaper, they see that a lot of Malawians are selling houses, selling farms, different properties. And when you find out why they're selling these properties, they are saying that they took a loan from a bank, and somewhere they failed to settle it. And sometimes they say they took a loan of about 10 million, but then the bank would ask them in form of collateral a house of about 50 million. So they save the loan somewhere, they don't finish because of the interest issues. Then the bank comes and takes that a house, even having paid 8 million. So the person loses quite a lot, and they're saying, no, would you please, Honorable Zonzi, on our behalf, come up with a law that would actually cap the interest. But it's not only suggesting about capping, even it is saying that where there are arrears, the bank should not actually charge interest on arrears, like the penalty interest, because they feel that doesn't make sense. But as I interacted with the gurus, there are a number of issues that they have raised. For example, our colleagues from the Law Society did indicate that the Financial Services Act, specifically on Section 34, Paragraph 2, Subsection 2, Paragraph C and D, I think the regulator is empowered even to do, to an extent, what the proposed bill is saying. Now, the question is, why is that not happening? If at all it is not happening, which means now I also need to interface with more players in this game so that I get all the reasons, because it is possible that what we see is a symptom of something else. So the whole purpose of trying to consult is to see what is it that needs to be fixed.
And Bankers Association of Malawi President is Poguta. He says interest rate capping nearly led to crashing of relatively powerful economies such as Kenya and Zambia. Guta explains.
One is we need to be very, very cautious in the approach that we take, on the understanding that the very thing that we think is going to solve our problem could actually be the genesis of the mega problems that will come ahead of us, and probably we'll begin to be asking ourselves, why did we ever do that? And I say that from a basis. And the basis being that there are others that have tried it, and having tried it, they have realized post the event that probably that's not the best thing that should have done in their lives as a country and as an economy. Because it's very easy, as one of the colleagues has said, it's very easy to take decisions and devise laws. But the outcome of those laws and decisions and actions are not in our control. And when a matter as decisive as this is coming to the fore for discussion, one must exercise a lot of caution, a lot of care. And probably, as they say, forewarned is forearmed. We don't need a better warning than the warning we're seeing out of our colleagues right here on this continent in Kenya. We don't need a better warning than a warning that we're seeing from our own colleagues right next to neighbor Zambia. We don't need a better warning. And so, as a country, my question becomes, is our economy as deep as Kenya? Is our economy as deep as Zambia? And if it is not, are we ready for the risk? We are practicing a free market economy. In other words, we are saying, let the laws of supply and demand apply to our businesses, not just in the banking sector, but across the board. And so, to just come out from nowhere without understanding the business fundamentals of what it takes to price for a loan, what it takes, what goes into the cost of banking, and then say, you shall price at this, regardless of the cost that you're incurring. Already that defeats a business principle, and a very fundamental business principle. A law must be a law that is devised based on sound business principles. Now, you don't regulate one side of the law without regulating the other side of the law. In any case, you don't do business through regulation. You don't do business through laws. You do business through business principles of supply and demand. The forces must decide the price.
But President for the Indigenous Business Association of Malawi, IBA, Mike Mlombwa, said the bill could help save Malawians from marauding banks who take advantage of lack of proper legislations to victimize borrowers.
I think it's a very important bill. You know, IBAM has been fighting for this bill for almost 5 years. And what we are looking for are now the results. And I know they're doing consultations, but as you heard, I said there that much of the work should be done by these people who are working in commercial banks, including some people from the Reserve Bank, because these are the people who knows all the system, how the money moves from one point to another, in terms of lending, in terms of profits, in terms of even interest. They are there to tell us. And I've also said that we have been attending such meetings, even including with the Reserve Bank officials, the same issue. Now it's almost 5 years, but the results are not coming out. So we say no, time has come, because here in Malawi, implementation is a major problem. Some of these policies, we can draft them, and our friends can come and take them, and they are working in other countries like Rwanda. Why not here in Malawi? So it's a good thing. The commercial banks, we have got very intelligent people who are working in commercial banks in Malawi, who are indigenous in Malawi. They can come up with the results or research. What are the results? Are you going to survive according to our economy or not? So it depends with these people. But if they say no, let's have enough time, then we are going to wait another 5 years.
As we proceed with the program, let us now have a look at how the Malawi kwacha is faring against major trading currencies on the foreign exchange market. Now, one of the country's commercial banks, New Finance Bank, has increased its saving interest rate by 2 percentage points to 8% from 6%. This is in a bid to enhance savings culture among its customers. We have the detail in this report.
The bank's marketing and customer experience manager, Linda Simwaka, said the bank has received tremendous support from its customers in the first month of the promotion, with increased numbers of new accounts opened and increased savings volumes.
As a New Finance Bank, we are very delighted in our customers, and let me just also take this opportunity to say congratulations to all the winners, and we are very excited for them, just like they are. We've really made great strides with this promotion, like I indicated in my speech, to say that as New Finance Bank, we also owe part of the growth of our deposits for the past month to the Motorable promotion, and indeed it has been exciting, and we hope that it will be exciting to the end of the promo. As New Finance Bank, indeed, I indicated to say we've actually made growth. We've actually seen growth in terms of our deposits. So for us to sustain this, we're doing sensitization meetings out there. I'll give you an example of our Dzaleka agency. At the moment, we're doing so much in terms of sensitization because what we're trying to do is to help the government in inculcating a saving culture. So basically, it's not just about having the promotion and ending there. No. We should still take the message out there. An example is the sensitization meetings that we're doing. We've got, for your own information, we've got food soldiers out there that go to save different areas. What we're saying is we don't want the customer to come to us. No. It's not just about having the promo and making advertisement out there, like I've indicated. Let our food soldiers go and tell customers more about our products and services and the goodness of saving. And also, just to say that when the food soldiers are going out there, we make sure that it's not just going out there to say we've got this at NFB, come and open an account and these are the benefits. No. Let them talk about this saving culture so that we make sure that we get the deposits and people continue saving with us. I should say here that we've got an overwhelming response. People are very excited that as New Finance Bank, we are indeed growing in terms of footprint. And looking at the areas that we weren't there before in terms of our footprint, now that we are there in terms of the representation of our Pride Malawi outlets, people are really excited because what we're doing at the moment is people are opening accounts out there using our Pride outlets. And I should say that this has also helped us indeed, like you've put it, to say that our customer base is growing because of that. So yes, the response has been overwhelming and it's been good, and there is indeed more that is coming because of that.
The grand winner in the promotion will walk away with a 1 million kwacha prize after 3 months of running the competition. From Lilongwe, I am Chimwemwe Mangazi.
Well, with that story, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time right here on Times Television. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And on behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. But always remember, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. Bye for now.